Access more.
Welcome to the Christian Business Leader Podcast, where Christ-following business leaders explore God's will and ways for business. This show is a ministry of the Center for Christianity and Business at Houston Christian University and features conversations with today's Christ-centered business leaders who are representing Christ faithfully in the business world. I'm your host, Darren Shear, and if you want to make your work, leadership, and company's culture more Christ-centered, you've come to the right place. On this episode, we're joined by Matt Flegler from all the way around the world. Actually, some of y'all listening are in Australia, in this part of the world, but he is actually in Northeast Australia in Cairns, which I'm saying in the American way. Say it for us properly, Matt.
Yeah, it's Cairns.
It's Cairns. It's Cairns. Spelled Cairns, in case you're looking at a map and trying to figure out where that is, and you can't spell like me. So Matt is an entrepreneur, founder of Salt and Light Wealth Academy, and author of How to Hear God at Work. He helps Christian business leaders and entrepreneurs partner with God to achieve success without the hustle and grind. Through his coaching, courses, and prophetic mentoring, Matt equips people to hear God's voice, align their kingdom purpose, and experience breakthrough in business, family, and life. His message is simple. Heaven has a strategy for your work, and when you partner with God, you can walk with clarity, peace, and supernatural results. And if that wasn't enough, he was also in a Christian reggae band in high school. Matt, do you still play reggae? Were you the singer? What was your role in?
It was definitely, the whitest guy on the in the band. I played saxophone, so that was it didn't get me singing.
Okay, gotcha. And so you do a lot of Bob Marley.
Yeah, so we did use Bob Marley, UB40, some of those bands, and rephrased them into like Christian lyrics, and we were a bit of a hit when it came. Not so much the students; they kind of wasn't their style, but the teachers loved it, and we were booked in for different gigs throughout the year. So it was cool.
Yeah, I love reggae music. It's so relaxing. And it's really fascinating how much of Bob Marley's music was about Jesus.
Yeah.
And had such a biblical foundation for it. I think, some strange theology that, crept its way into the whole idea of Rastafarianism and everything, but there's some really powerful God-honoring lyrics in there. Well, Matt, welcome to the Christian Business Leader Podcast. I'm excited to have you and have this conversation halfway around the world.
Yeah, thanks, Darren. Good to have a chat.
Yes, sir. So when did you first realize God wants to be involved in your work and business?
Yeah, growing up Christian and being around entrepreneurship, family of farmers, and knew the value of hard work. And wasn't long after we got married. It was 20 years ago. We're celebrating a 20-year this year. And my dad was semi-retired, sold the farm, and said, "Hey, Matt, you're really good when it comes to property." Studied landscape architecture and I went to university. So why don't we do some property development together? And Dad had done some like unit developments and different type of things on the side whilst still running his banana farm. And we started that journey, and I kind of avoided business for so long. Dad's such a strong entrepreneur. So why don't you do business school? Why don't you do this? I don't want to do that. I just want to do what I'm passionate about. And then eventually he won, and I went, oh, let's do this, and dive straight into doing property development and experience a lot of success. And a lot of the success was was wonderful, doing some big projects, and they were profitable. Learned a lot in how all that property world works, and finance and business, and still having a deep connection with God. Did growing up Christian, but also was, even leading an internship program at church, and discipling. I was real passionate about discipleship. But during, everything's fine until things aren't fine. And one of the projects that we did was our largest project. This is back in 2010. We nicknamed it Project from Hell, because it just came with so many issues and so many problems. And we eventually ran out of money, and we had other partners in the project as well. And I realized that, looking back, that my identity was so tied into my bank account balance. And it was so tied in that, imagine being on that roller coaster from, hey, we got money in the bank, now we don't. And that can affect, just flow into every aspect of life. And so I had this bad view set that if I was successful, then that means God loves me and God's blessing me because he loves me. I'm a good son. And the opposite became even worse, that if things aren't going well, the bank account balance is low, nothing's working, then this is God punishing me. But when that, a lot of times you can go, well, we'll just break out of that. We'll work harder. We'll be a good person. We'll work our little tookers off to get up to make things happen. And you get on top and like, oh, God's pleased with me again, but with this project, it got worse and worse and worse, to the point of, I was contemplating suicide. I was contemplating, doing all those things to go, okay, maybe my life is not worth living. And I
Did you
broke
know the
down with
Lord
my
at this
wife.
time?
I
Did,
was
did both
sorry.
you and did both you and your dad know the Lord at this time?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. We're, both walking in that path, been around, Christian serving, going on mission trips, doing all that, having prayer and consideration, but just that wrong mindset around business, and it just really knocked me for six, and knocked me out.
Yeah, as
Um,
you're unpacking this, I just want to jump in there a little bit here, because I can relate to this. When you make a decision in business that is risky, and it turns out to go sideways, and you start to really beat yourself up. And like, one of the things that I would say to myself is, Darren, you're just not wise. You lack wisdom, and it can you can really start to tear away at your identity, because wisdom is something we
yeah,
we know comes from God. And
yeah,
it's like, if this business deal doesn't appear to have God's blessing on it and go the way I want it, and the speed and the outcome that I want, then I just lack the wisdom of the Holy Spirit. Is Which is not, sometimes that's probably true. I mean, did you feel like that was true in your situation?
to a degree. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was. It was. Am I missing something? Have I missed you, God? There's something. I'm not in the flow anymore. I'm not feeling you. And it came more to understand that, like, followed the principles. I followed. I was a stickler for discipline, religious duty, reading my Bible. Every day, have set point where, like, okay, I'm dedicating prayer, devotion time, worship, doing all the right things that I thought, well, that's what it means to, be a good Christian and connect with God, but not seeing the results, not
Yeah.
seeing the overflow or the joy, and still thinking I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy. That whole psyche just started to play in, and it was at that point in the lowest moment that, I said to my wife, I said, hey, decided to be vulnerable. Guys, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
And just said, hey, this is what I'm thinking. These are the thoughts. These are the wrong thoughts I've had. And, she held my hand and she said, listen, it's just money. I love you. I want
Yeah.
you around. And the kids were quite young at that stage. And I remember laying on the couch. She said, I'll look after dinner. I'll take care of dinner. You just relax. Even in myself, I couldn't relax. I just felt so defeated and
Hmm.
so rejected that I laid on the couch and I just felt I'm not even low enough. I'm not even worthy to lay on the couch. I'll lay on the floor. So I
Mm.
rolled off the couch and laid on the floor, and it's like God's going to yell at me. So, and it was in that moment I just heard like a yelling at me saying, "Get up!" I'm like, "Get up!" What? Anyway, like a blob, I sort of flopped my way up, and I went, "Oh, I'll go watch TV and just get the distraction of all the thoughts that I'm battling with." Put on the TV, and I don't know if you remember TiVo back in
Yeah.
those days. And I had like a TV evangelist recordings on because here they're on at really wee hours of the morning. So I recorded, and when I get a chance, just watch them. And I went, oh, that should be encouraging. So I pressed play, and the first thing he says, in front of the camera, straight in the camera, he says, "Get back up on your faith." He
Mm.
said it's like three times, "Get back up on your faith, get back up on your faith." I'm like,
I
I
love that.
can't get up. So I'm like, turn the TV off. I'm like, shut up.
Yeah.
And I think I went to bed, and that was a Friday, and then Saturday was a blur. And then both my wife and I just said, God, you know what we're going through. You know this is just not working. We need to hear you. Because if we don't hear you, we know we're not going to make it, but we just need your voice. And we just put the challenge out. We went to church that morning, arrived late. I don't like arriving late, but just with young kids, it happens, right? And
Sure.
so we shimmied down the back and sat down the back, and it was right at the end of worship, and they were transitioning over to whoever's going to preach, and the transition speaker. And I remember it. She just spoke straight out of Psalm 37. So commit your ways to the Lord. Trust also in Him, and He shall bring it to pass. That phrase, "He shall bring it to pass," just went like a bolt of lightning through my heart. And
Mm.
same as my wife. And we just started crying and went, okay, God's got this. Don't know what, I don't know how, don't know why He's going to make it through. Don't know all the implications, but just that assurance that we're going to get through it. And that week, it was like that was put to the test. Uh, got a phone call from our accounts saying, hey, we've run out of money. We can't rob Peter to pay Paul anymore. And all the partners had run out of money. Oh, okay, God, you said you're going to bring this pass. You're going to bring it to pass. We'll commit our ways. God, we surrender, commit my ways to you. So, still battling with the fear, still battling with the worry and the pressure. So, well, God, here we are. We've got to
So
find
you're at the
four.
point where you can't even go into debt, any further debt? Is this the point
No,
you're talking about? Yeah. Like the
yeah,
bank,
yeah,
nobody's going to lend to you anymore at this point.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because our project was held up because the banks wouldn't give us money. There was a bigger thing at play going on, and it just happened. The banks just said we're not lending to property developers. We're just not. So, and they had huge conditions on if we're going to give you the money, it's got to meet all these like unbelievable conditions. Like,
You have to have, I
how's
was
that
reading in
going
your
to happen?
book that you've got to be 100% pre-sold in order to
Yeah,
get the loan. Yeah. I mean,
that's right.
that's no risk right there.
Yes, no, like of course I get the money for that. It's like there's
Yeah.
no risk in
Like
that for the bank.
exactly.
So yeah, we looked at all the creative funding aspects we could, and we were just at the dead end, dry going. So there's nothing else. We've tried everything. It's even employed consultants to help us through it. No, even they were coming up dry. So I said, well, God, you're going to have to show us. And so in that moment, I nothing else. I went down to one of the kids' bedrooms. They weren't there. They were at kindergarten or something. And just closed the door, laid out on the floor, and just said, God help, where's this $4,000 going to come from? Could have been $4 million for, the pressure that we were under. And it was seriously not like, might have been 5 minutes, maybe max. And I was just praying, God, help, help, help. And I hear in my thought, check this tax. It's called Q leave. It's a state government tax, and you prepay that tax so that the council and the county will give you the approval so you can go and build. So it's a prepaid tax. And he said, check your Q leave. I'm like, what? God, I need to find money. Like, what's that got to do with money? So check your Q leave. Like, it just got louder and louder. So I went, all right. I went up to upstairs, opened my laptop, found the calculations for this. And as I looked through it, realized we had overpaid that tax. And it was about 12 months ago that we'd paid that. And I'm not really familiar with that type of tax as well. So, it's kind of like, once you pay it, that's it. You walk away. Didn't know you could do refunds or anything. And because we worked pretty diligently over that year to reduce their expenses and find better ways to build it, and without compromising on quality. And it was like, well, we've done really, really well. So hang on. But I kind of did a recalculation, and it was around that amount. It was around 4,000, a little bit over 4,400 was the difference. Well, that's pretty coincidental. It's like just above 4,000. So I called up the tax agent, that department, and someone answered within 2 rings. Okay, it wasn't a recorded message. Like, hello. It's like, oh, hello. I'm like, is that Q leave? And she's like, yeah, it is. I went, oh, well, okay. I was expecting a recorded message, or press 1 for this person, that person. She goes, no. Well, how can I help you? And I explained the situation. She said, oh, that's all right. Just resend the same form back with the proper amount that you've worked out, and with your bank account details, and I will wire you the difference. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay. How long will that take? She said, I'm the one that does the wiring, and this is the day that I do it. So if you can get it to me in the next 20 minutes, I'll make sure it's in this payment run.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, wow. So, and it was in our account the next day.
Oh, my goodness. That's the government.
That's the government. So that's a miracle.
Wow.
I'm like, God, this is wild.
Oh, my goodness.
That then led on to, well, God, okay, great. That fixed our need for that month. What about the project? How are we going to get out of this mess? And he led me through a series of just building my faith. And I would pray over the project. I'd go, God, help what needs to do. And it wasn't any different to what the strategies we were putting in place. There was no different strategies because we were very experienced developers. There was nothing wrong with that. But he was building my faith and building my trust. Kind of like looking back, I didn't really have a faith problem. I had a trust problem. I knew I could do this, but I didn't know that God wanted to do it. And when he walked us through that whole process, even to the point that he showed me pictures of how the project would look. So the first picture I got was the property was construction machinery was going. And so, well, that means we've got our construction funding. I'm like, oh God, I can see that picture in my imagination. I can see construction machinery, and I was paying very close attention to the machinery was actually the color of the machinery was all orange. I'm like, okay. And that picture never left. It wasn't like I look at it again and say, okay, God, what do you see this? How do you see this project? And they're like, that those colors never changed. It was just orange all the way through. So I'm like, well, that means that no, the banks weren't giving us the funding yet. And then we'd work pretty diligently. We'd keep getting our pre-sales. And they go, God, show me the project. And he'd show me the road finished, because we're doing land subdivision. The road's finished. And I'm like, well, that's kind of it. That's the project finished for us, because we don't get into the houses. We just sell the land and then move on to the next one. But no, still no funding. And then it was a few months would go by, and I'd pray again and say, God, show me. And the picture would change. And it would change to seeing all the lots sold, like all the lot signs, the real estate signs, all on the lots. And it also had sold stickers all over them. And I'm like, oh, cool. That's it. Like, we're done. We're done. That's completed. Yeah. Thank you, Lord. We received that. Let's walk in that. And still no funding. Still haven't started anything. Okay, we'll keep going. But this time, green shoots of hope are starting to fill things are starting to move, and talking with banks, and they're singing a different tune now. For some reason, I'm like, oh, okay, hang on, this is good. Didn't want anything to do with this. Now you're talking to us. This is good. And I got to a point where I said, God, what is? Come on, we need this funding. This has got dragged on for too long. This is like nearly 2 years, and trying to just live on the smell of an oily rag. And the picture changed, and I saw all the houses built, people living in the houses, and like a massive community, all people walking on the street, and just like a finished community. And in that day, the bank called and said, congratulations, you've got your funding. Wow. So it was that moment of God sees things in completion, and he wants to partner with. So the story didn't end there. So we had worked with understanding the excavators, and the machinery was all orange. And during that time, we tried to work out different ways that we could get going, doing the construction partnership, vendor finance with a construction mob, that they would come in, get things started, and as momentum happened, we'd get the funding, we'd pay them off. We worked with all these different creative ways of financing. None of them really worked. And we'd meet with these contractors, and because the first picture God showed me was orange-colored machinery, I was meeting at one of the offices, and I'm looking around. They had pictures of their machinery around their office, and they were all white. And I said, "Hey, you got any orange ones?" And the guy's like, "No, I don't have any orange ones." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And thankfully, our engineer and our partners, all Christian, and we walked out and had that meeting, and they weren't interested in doing the type of arrangement. They looked at me and said, "What did you mean when you said orange-colored machineries? Like, we know you're smarter than that, Matt. Like, what? That's a really random question to ask." So then I invited them in on the journey, like, "Hey, I'm praying, believing, and I saw orange-colored machinery." And they're like, "Okay, cool, all right." So they kept that sort of the back of the mind. So when we got our funding in place, our engineer called and said, "Hey, I've been working with these other contractors on other projects. They're really good. I've given it to them. They've priced it up. I think these guys could be the guys. Let's actually meet them and see if we do the handshake before we go to the contract." So we teed up a time, met with them, sitting down with them, going through all the plans, and partners were there, and they're nitpicking all the different things. As good business people do, they're like, "Okay, what about this? What about that?" And we get to the end, and one of the guys, the partners, goes, "Hey, mate, this is the last question we got for you. And if you get this wrong, there's no deal." And you think these big guys in high-vis shirts, they've got beards, they're like just these big, burly, salt of the earth kind of men, And so, okay, pressure's on. And they said, "Matt, ask him your question." I'm like, "Oh, that question." I said, "What color's your machinery?" And they're like, looked really weird at me, like, "What?" And they're like, "I think they're all orange." And all the partners are like, Great answer. So he stood up and pulled the hand out and said, "Let's shake." And he shake the deal, and they roared laughing like, "I've never shook on a deal based on the color of my machinery." But then that opened the conversation up to say,
Yeah.
"What did that mean?" And explain the journey with him. Like, wow. I said, "So you are an answer to prayer. God wanted you in this project before we even met you." So, and
Yeah.
that was just a beautiful introduction relationship. But God's more interested in relationship and connection than he is about the final outcome.
Sure.
So we got to walk them, start to disciple them, and really walk them that journey. Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
yeah.
phenomenal.
So you had a group of, it wasn't just you involved in this, but you had a whole team of people that were walking through this with you. On this show, we believe that the primary purpose isn't just primarily to make a profit or to make money to donate to Christian ministries, but to make disciples of Jesus. And so, how did you see disciples made, and have you seen disciples made through the doing of business and this specific journey that you've been on?
Yeah, it's inviting your suppliers, your stakeholders, your customers, your partners, your employees into the journey, and allowing them not being it, I use this lightly, but it's like not using Christianese. So,
Hmm.
because the world, doesn't get some of that, but it's being the hands and feet of Jesus, and being love in every situation. It's demonstrating his heart. And like, I love it when the miracles happen, and when there's like just wow, yeah, God showed up. There's no way that this could have ever come through unless God showed up. And the staff and team and customers and stakeholders were involved in the process, and they go, "Wow, isn't God good?" Yes, God's good, and invites them further into the, let's talk, let's have a coffee, let's unpack this and start to walk in that space. And some of these guys that I've been connected to for years are still walking with God because they've seen the goodness of God through.
Mm.
We've demonstrated that, and it just being real and confronting what needs to be confronting, and moving in that space. But also, the ability to disciples, then these guys making disciples, uh, and just with the demonstration of God's God's real, and he wants to tell you he's real and show you that he's real. Just the other day, one of my clients, he um, selling their house, just him and his wife selling their house, and they employed an agent. It happened to be a friend. Friend knows that they're Christian. The uh, the agent's very overtly not a Christian, and says, "I don't want nothing to do with your God. I'm an atheist." He said, "Okay, that's fine, but you're really good at what you do, and we really feel that you're the right agent for this." And so he did his research. The agent came back and said, "This is what I believe the price is." They're like, "Yep, great, that's fine." They went ahead, did the open home that weekend, got a few people in. Uh, the one selling it, him and his wife sat down, and my client, they sat down, and they went, "Hang on, is this the right price?" And they felt God tell them another $60,000 on top. And so, wow, that's a bit more than then. I don't think this agent will like that. So anyway, they called up the agent and said, "Hey, we're Christians. We hear from God. We really feel this is the price that we need to accept for it." The agent was a little bit mad. And it's like, "What? No way. Like, there's no way we'd get that price." He's like, "Just listen, no pressure. Just go with me on it." So he did. He goes, "Okay, well, if your God's real, then this is going to happen." So he gets off the phone. The agent then says and prays and says, "Well, God, if you're real, then the next person I talk to about this property is going to pay that price." Next minute, the phone rings.
Wow.
And it was a neighbor that went to the open home and said, I love it. I'm a property investor. I'm in the area. I really want to buy this property. So the agent goes, well, I know if you paid this price, they would take it in a heartbeat. He's like, deal.
Wow.
So then the agent's gone, I've got you the money, but this is like, he's just flabbergasted. I've got you the money. I'm starting to believe.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can we have a coffee? Can we catch up? Because I want to talk more about this. This is blowing my mind.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, definitely. Let's talk. So I love how God wants to use our business to demonstrate his goodness, but then it shows to the world, like, how can I not serve a God that's so good and that loves me and that wants a deep connection and relationship with me? And it takes all the pressure off. You're just getting to walk with people and just loving them well.
I love how the marketplace is a place where it can be very high stakes, but the Lord just uses these stakes and these situations that we find ourselves in to just surprise us with his creativity and his ability to show up. If we will just invite him in, that he will show up even in the numbers and the mundane tasks and all of these relationships that we have in the marketplace. That's such a powerful story. And so you've got a book, Hear God at Work. It's how to hear God at work, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, how to hear God at work. The podcast is heargodatwork.com/podcast. That's how you can go subscribe to that. But tell us what people can expect from this book, because we're going to encourage people to go hear more from you.
Yeah. Thanks, Darren. The book really outlines some of that journey I just spoke about, but it's done in a way that is practical, applicable, full of ways that you can go away and do it now. It's not just one, oh, that's a great story. That's great for you, Matt, but that's not for me. So no, come on, you bringing heaven to earth in your world right now, and start to practice it, start to do it, start to recognize how God speaks, how you're wired, how you're uniquely wired to actually tap in and tune your heart to hear him, and then go and do it. And it's not just like, oh, that's great theory. So no, it's full of testimonies. Some are mine, some are from clients, some of people I know, just family stories, if I could say it that way, of how people have heard God's voice, partnered with him, trusted in the midst of uncertainty and doubt, but choose to believe anyway, and then see how God moves.
Yes, love it. All right, How to Hear God at Work is the book you can get on Amazon. Also at Matt's website, saltlightwealth.com, and subscribe to the podcast as well. Anything else, Matt, you want to say about how people can connect with you and hear more from you?
Yeah, if you go to the website, saltlightwealth.com, there's the free sample of the book, give you a taster of what it is. Try before you buy, test drive it. If it's something that you like, then definitely can chat more. We have other aspects that we offer. We also go into businesses and I've got a team of prophetic people that we get to just bless businesses as well. So we do a lot of that, and like to train others to really hone in on his voice and go with those instructions and see not just the strategies come to pass or great strategies, but it's that deeper connection with God and how that will affect every aspect of life, your relationships at home, your relationships at work, and just walking from a place of peace and rest rather than hustle and grind.
Love it. Matt, thank you so much for sharing your story, your journey, your wisdom with us, and for helping us to stand up on our own faith. Isn't that what the preacher said? Stand up on your faith.
Get back up on your faith.
Yeah, get back up on your faith. I love that. I love that. Somebody's feeling beat down right now. might not even just be a business matter, but get back up on your faith. Matt, thank you for that reminder and for spending time with us today.
Thanks, Darren. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Christian Business Leader Podcast. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and tune in for the next episode as we continue exploring God's will and ways for business.